Miche arrives at the Survey Corps HQ, only to find it in ruins. The sight of the wreckage, the Titan remains, and the slaughtered horses causes his heart to sink. He knows that a battle was fought here, but he can't find any concrete evidence of Squad Levi's fate. He looks around, hoping to find some clue that will lead him to his comrades. As he searches through the debris, Miche notices something odd. The Titan remains haven't completely evaporated, which means the battle wasn't too long ago. If Squad Levi survived, they couldn't have gone far. But where should he start looking? Miche decides to trust his sense of smell. This entire time, he's been picking up a smell coming from the south. He believes it to be Titans, and perhaps they're chasing Squad Levi. Without hesitation, he mounts his horse and sets off in pursuit. Just so the timeline of events is clear, Miche arrives at the Survey Corps HQ before Squad Levi reaches Walsina, which is what allows him to pick up their trail. And as Miche departs from the Survey Corps HQ, Hange arrives at Trost to report that Titans breached the walls. And he also carries a secret message for Erwin. On her way to Trost, she discovered something that may change everything. Jumping to the present, Reiner's team has set up camp at Utgard Castle. They had spent the day evacuating settlements, and now they're using the night to rest. Nanaba tells her team that they'll have an early start tomorrow, and their objective is to push west, all the way to the Krolva district, and they'll be inspecting the walls along the way for any signs of a breach. Coney, Ymir, and Krista all fall asleep immediately, while Reiner only pretends to fall asleep. He's extremely paranoid. Nanaba is moving them farther and farther away from the battles. He wonders if there's a trap waiting for him at Krolva. If he doesn't escape now, is it all over for him? Then, Reiner feels the ground rumble, first softly, then stronger and stronger. Titans, they've come. Before he can get up, Nanaba bursts into the room and confirms what Reiner felt. She tells them all to grab their weapons and to meet her at the roof. When they arrive at the roof, they see it, a Titan horde, and in the distance, the Beast Titan is watching. And Reiner knows it's now or never. Before anyone can react, he jumps off the castle and transforms. The explosion rocks the castle structure, something Reiner was counting on. He doesn't want any of them to survive, and report this to Erwin. At first, Zeke's Titans charge at Reiner, until Zeke is able to confirm it's the armored Titan, and he orders his Titans to focus on the scouts. Utgard Castle begins to collapse, and Zeke's Titans gather to kill the scouts. Atop the tower, Nanaba shouts that they'll have to fight until the bitter end. Coney slumps to the floor in shock. Historia readies her blades. She's always wanted to die a martyr, but we see some beads of sweat on her, indicating that she's terrified of what's to come. Then Ymir grabs Historia's shoulder. She doesn't want Historia to join the fighting. Up until now, Ymir remained silent, as she was focused on finding an opening to escape. And because the Titans that originally chased after Reiner haven't moved back to their positions, now is the best moment. Ymir jumps off the tower and transforms. Her Titan grabs the walls with one hand and uses the other to grab a stunned Historia. She then leaps off to safety, leaving the rest of the scouts to their fate. But then Historia starts punching Ymir's arm and screaming at her to turn back and save their comrades. And after a passionate back and forth, Ymir turns back towards the castle. She knows her window is small, but with her speed, it might be possible. But then, just as Ymir approaches the tower, a roar echoes throughout the battlefield, and all the Titans lunge at Ymir. Zeke has made his move. The Titans instantly kill Historia and start ripping the jawed Titan to pieces, though none of them touch the nape. Zeke wants Ymir captured alive. Reiner runs over and grabs the barely conscious Ymir, and the rest of Zeke's Titans destroy Utgard Castle and slaughter the remaining scouts. Reiner is frustrated with Historia's death and explains to Zeke why she was important to the plan, but Zeke dismisses it. He's already battled the Founding Titan. They have no need for backup plans. After a few more exchanges, Reiner tells Zeke that the Titan shifter he fought was Eren Jaeger. Zeke quickly hides his shock and calmly tells Reiner that they don't have much time to capture him. Marley sent him to bring the warriors back as soon as possible. Regardless of how the next battle unfolds, they have to return home. Unfortunately for Reiner and Zeke, the next battle doesn't happen immediately, as the Survey Corps do a great job of avoiding a decisive battle with the warriors while they're still split into smaller groups. And to make things worse for Zeke and Reiner, multiple scouts spot the armored titan, and when multiple attempts at contacting Nanaba Squad fails, the annihilation of Nanaba Squad becomes public knowledge, which leads to Erwin secretly ordering Bertholdt's capture before he can make his move as well. Up until now, Gelga had done a masterful job of keeping his team isolated. This entire time, they were inspecting the walls for breaches east of the Trost district, so information about the armored titan and the fate of Nanaba Squad never reaches them until a messenger is sent for Gelga. He tells Mikasa, Armin, John, and Sasha about Erwin's order, but none of them believe him. They can't see Bertholdt being a titan shifter, even after they're told about the fate of Nanaba Squad. So Gelga attempts to persuade them by saying Bertholdt isn't guilty yet, and luring him underground is just a precautionary measure. Plus, they need to have faith in their commander's judgment. And after a few minutes reflecting on those words, they all agree with the plan, except Armin. Armin believes that if Bertholdt is the Colossal, they need to bring him deep underground, just to contain his Titan form. And how can they do that without tipping him off? Armin believes it's better to restrain him while he sleeps, and then drag him underground, or they should continue the current plan of maneuvering him farther and farther away from Reiner. Gelga decides to go along with Armin's suggestion, so all that's left is to wait for night and to attack Bertholdt while he sleeps. In Walsina, Eren finally wakes up. He completely remembers his dream about Grisha and the blonde-haired boy, though it feels too real to be just a dream. So he tells Petra about it, and she doesn't know what to think. Dreams are weird after all. Plus, he's been thinking a lot about Grisha, so maybe it just influenced his dreams. Eren disagrees. He could feel Grisha's betrayal and sadness. That's never happened to him before. Before Petra can respond, Levi interrupts the conversation by announcing that they'll be departing. The garrison and MPs are too poorly trained to protect the refugees from incoming titans, so they'll be taking over. As they're departing, they're found by Miche, and despite his exhaustion from the long journey, he quickly tells them that Wall Rose is still standing and that they must rejoin the front. We see Squad Levi celebrating, with Levi going off alone and being quietly happy that Erwin survived. At the front, Reiner and Zeke are desperate to locate either Bertholdt or Eren. They've wasted too much time, and even with the Cart Titan's assistance, they have no leads. Plus, the Survey Corps are nipping at their heels, and each time they turn to fight, the scouts disperse, only to reform later and continue chasing them. The Survey Corps have also been firing their flares the entire time. At first, Reiner believed it was to coordinate themselves after they disperse, but after a while, he begins to suspect that they're signaling reinforcements, and he and Zeke are exhausted. They've resorted to riding atop one of Zeke's titans, but that won't last forever. But then, they see it. A massive explosion in the distance. Bertholdt has made his move. Erwin sees it as well, and gives the command to attack. They can't stall for Squad Levi any longer, and risk Reiner and Zeke joining forces with Bertholdt. The Survey Corps quickly close the distance on the two warriors, so Zeke orders his titans to intercept, while Reiner transforms and carries them the rest of the way. A few moments earlier, Bertholdt is contemplating why he's so scared to make decisions, and why he's so dependent on Reiner. He's known that Gelga is keeping him away from the battles. He's known from the beginning, yet he did nothing, and now they're all watching him like a hawk, just waiting for him to slip, so they can attack. Bertholdt thinks about Ani and Reiner, and how they've done all the heavy lifting, and how they both might have died because he hasn't supported them. Bertholdt's brooding is interrupted by Sasha, who calls out the flares behind them. John wonders how Erwin found them, and why he needs all the flares, while Bertholdt has the silent realization that Erwin is pursuing his comrades. Bertholdt cuts his hand and shows it to his squad, and tells them to run. Galaga orders Mikasa, Armin, John, and Sasha to flee, while he lunges at Bertholdt, determined to kill him before he transforms, but his attempt fails, and despite Bertholdt keeping the explosion somewhat contained, Galaga was so close that he's instantly scorched to death, while the rest of his squad are blown away. Bertholdt begins moving towards the flares, while Armin racks his brain for a way to stop him. Meanwhile, Squad Levi is far away from the action, but they've been moving slowly towards the Survey Corps flares and firing their own flares to signal back. They're doing their best to catch up, but it's a long journey. Then, they see the explosion and notice the flares from the scouts have stopped. This puts Squad Levi at a crossroad. Do they race towards the explosion or their comrades? And unbeknownst to all parties, Peak has the same dilemma. Does she race towards Bertholdt or support Reiner and Zeke?